A lot of people are panicking because of this news about United States' new list of demands on the Islamic Republic to get to an agreement with the Islamic Republic, because this new list suggests that the United States is getting soft on the Islamic Republic and they might not attack and they might do a deal that is similar or even worse than the Obama deal, the JCPOA. However, a lot of people concerned about this didn't actually take a look at the source of this information. The source of this information is Fars News, which is one of the main IRGC media outlets, the other one being Tasnim. I'm going to go over the list of what Fars News, which is not at all a reliable source, what they say the now US demands are of the Islamic Republic, the 5 demands, and tell you why they might have come up with this list, and then compare it with what we know the Islamic Republic demands of United States are, and show you how even this list by the Islamic Republic, the claim they're making what the US demands are now, even that doesn't get us to a deal. But it's also interesting to go over the list because it shows you how the Islamic regime in Iran does propaganda. My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of activism against the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Let's go over the list that Fars News has provided. And remember, this went viral and so many people are posting it as the new list by the United States, not checking the source is IRGC. But here's what they're claiming. They say the US demands from Iran, they mean the Islamic regime, are this. 1, no compensation or damages paid to Iran. That's obviously true. And remember, they fill the list with things that are believable and things that we know to then push something that is their propaganda. And I'll tell you what the utility of that might be. So 1, no compensation or damages paid to Iran. And again, every time I say Iran, remember, we're talking about the Islamic regime. I'm just using their language here because I'm just quoting them. 2, Iran transfers 400 kilograms of uranium to the US. I don't know why they're saying 400 kilograms instead of 440 kilograms. Is this just a rounding down, or are they trying to suggest to the pro-regimes that they have managed to figure out a way to keep some of the enriched uranium? Or are they trying to show to the pro-regime people that the United States is being more flexible and they are not asking for all the enriched uranium? It could just be rounding down, but that's not the main point. So that was number 2. Let's go to number 3. Only 1 nuclear facility allowed to remain active. So this is a big deal. Obviously, we don't trust it unless we get better sources for this than IRGC. But let's consider the option that the Islamic Republic is reporting this as the new US position, saying that the US is being more flexible and their new terms allows the Islamic Republic to have nuclear facilities active as a way to show to the pro-regime people the United States is being more flexible because they know they don't have an upper hand. And they're trying to appease the Islamic Republic because the Islamic Republic has the upper hand. This might be for internal consumption to regime followers. Again, remember, none of this, including point number 3, is something that the Islamic Republic would accept. They want complete enrichment of uranium. And point number 1 and number 2 would not be accepted either. But this might be a way for the Islamic Republic to show that they have an upper hand to their own base. So that was number 3. Number 4, none of Iran's frozen assets released. Again, that's obviously believable and true. And then 5, ceasefire conditional on negotiations, not guaranteed. So that's also believable and true. But number 3 is the main concern here and is making a lot of anti-regime people panic. And again, check the source before you panic. The source is IRGC. But let's assume that this is actually the new list that we're dealing with. Let's say hypothetically that actually the United States is getting more flexible and now their new terms for their deal for a ceasefire includes allowing the Islamic Republic to have 1 nuclear facility running, which would make it worse than the Obama deal, worse than the JCPOA. Actually makes it by far worse than the JCPOA. And that's why it's so hard to believe that President Trump would do anything like that. However, even if that was the case, let's compare that to where the Islamic Republic's conditions are right now. And you can see how far away they are, even if Americans were going to be this flexible. They're not even in the same continent. They're not even in the same planet. They're not even in the same universe. Look how far They are. And it's just so hard to imagine how they could bridge this gap. Look at the conditions of the Islamic Republic and also understand that the Islamic Republic's conditions are less flexible. They have much less maneuverability because they tied their hands by more than 70 days of brainwashing their followers, telling them that they will never accept the humiliation of accepting anything less than these 5 conditions. And they have billboards in the city everywhere showing their 5 conditions. And they have advertised to their own followers, and their supporters have been chanting this, that we will rather die than accept anything less than these 5 conditions. If the Islamic Republic accepts anything less than these 5 conditions that I'm going to read to you, it's such a degree of humiliation and loss of legitimacy to their own followers that it will be very difficult for them to survive this, because they have already lost the vast majority of the Iranian people. Let's say 95% of the Iranian people, they have already completely lost that. And let's say, for example, 5%, maybe even 5% or even less, the 5% remaining followers that they have, they would lose a huge portion of them if they accept anything less than these 5 conditions that they have been constantly advertising and broadcasting on state TV and chanting in the streets in the pro-regime street protests. So let's look at these 5 and see how unimaginable it is for the Americans to agree to any of this. So these are the Islamic Republic 5 conditions for the US. I'll read all 5 of them and then we'll go through them and see how ridiculous they are. 1. Full ceasefire on all fronts, especially Lebanon. 2. Lifting of all anti-Iran sanctions. 3. Release of frozen Iranian assets. 4. Compensation for war damages. 5. The most ridiculous of all, recognition of Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. I'll tell you what these mean because you might not understand what they're actually saying. Number 1, when it says full ceasefire on all fronts, especially Lebanon, all fronts, you know what they mean by fronts? They're talking about every single terrorist proxy group of the Islamic Republic. They're meaning not just IRGC, they mean Hezbollah, they mean Hamas, they mean the Houthis, they mean Hashd al-Shabi, Zainabiyun, Fatimiyun, every single other terrorist group that these people support. They're saying that the United States should stop attacking the Islamic Republic and all of these proxy terrorist groups forever, and they need to find a way to guarantee it. That is insane. Why would the Americans ever agree to that? Not only that, the fact that they keep saying especially Lebanon, which means especially Hezbollah, the Islamic Republic likes to treat Hezbollah as if Hezbollah is Lebanon, which is not at all the case. Hezbollah is an occupying force in Lebanon. But the fact that they say especially Lebanon shows how un-Iranian and anti-Iranian the Islamic regime is. The fact that their priority when it comes to a ceasefire is in Lebanon, if anything, shows to you that this regime doesn't actually reflect the Iranian people and their agenda is pan-Islamic Shia imperialism. I don't know what else does. By the way, they have banners for all of these conditions in different parts of the city. Let's go look at number 2, lifting of all anti-Iran sanctions. And again, anti-Iran, they mean anti-Islamic Republic. And lifting of all sanctions, are you kidding me? Basically, they're asking President Trump to do something that not even Obama did. And release of all frozen assets of the Islamic Republic, basically, again, going farther than what Obama did when it comes to releasing frozen assets. Remember, one of the main criticisms for Obama was releasing some of the frozen assets to the Islamic Republic, which the Islamic Republic used to fund all of these terrorist activities, including October 7th. Obama funded October 7th by releasing these frozen assets. And President Trump was for years attacking Obama for doing that. And now the Islamic Republic is asking as a condition for a ceasefire to go farther and release everything much more than Obama did. I don't see that happening. And then on top of that, compensation for war damages, I don't see that happening. And this is why the last one is more ridiculous. It might not sound like it. Let me tell you why the last one is the most ridiculous one. It says recognition of Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. What they mean by this, because I listen to them and I read what they put out there, is the Islamic Republic's control over the Strait of Hormuz needs to be official and forever. And the reason why that is the most ridiculous, because this is not even up to the United States. This is not something for the United States to give. This would be challenged by the entire world. China would be against this. India would be against this. Europe would be against this. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE, Iraq, everyone, every country would be against this. This is the most delusional one. United States coming and giving the control of the Strait of Hormuz to the Islamic Republic. It's not even theirs to give it to you in an agreement. This is something that not only the United States would challenge, but every single other country would as well, which is why this is the most ridiculous one. I don't see a deal being possible, which is why we need to go back to blowing the shit out of these people. There is no deal to be made here. These people cannot be negotiated with. By the way, maybe by the time that we put this video out, we have already gone back to military operations on the mainland against the Islamic Republic. But if not, more and more people need to make a point that you cannot negotiate with these terrorists. They're just buying time. We need to finish the job with the Islamic Republic. The whole world is paying a huge price for their existence, so let's just get it done and over with. Also, come talk to me about this and other topics in our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day, and me and the other people in the group have really interesting conversations with each other. Join right now. The link is in the description. It's in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. That will take you there. Also, leave me a comment. Let me know if you agree. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if this was helpful, if this was educational. Those type of comments really motivate me to make more videos like this. Also, the algorithm is working against our channel, so please subscribe, hit the bell notification, leave comments, share, do all of these things that will make the algorithm boost these videos, because I really think our videos do a really good job in explaining this, what the situation is like. My name is Armin Navabi. I'm Israel Chai. Long live America. Javid Shah. Payande Iran.